something wrong, and it has to be remedial. It has to be remedial taken.
Okay.
And something that will correct you and put you on a path which was not correct to start with.
Okay.
And quite frankly, the word coaching as it's used today, particularly International Coach Federation and so many other coaching, professional setup, Coach Acharya, and so many others. They are all using the word coaching, which does not have all the baggage that we have. So, what is coaching? Let me just share with you a presentation.
Okay.
And there's just over 3 slides on this presentation.
Sure. So while you present that, and if there are questions, I'm going to ask you certain questions after you make your presentation. Yeah. Okay.
Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Now? Yeah.
Yes. Everyone can see it, no?
Yeah. Yes, Jaya. Yes.
Okay. So nice. But this is like very static, and it's about.
Anuja, can you go mute? I think there's a disturbance coming from your phone.
I think it's Jaya's mic.
Anuja also. Anuja, can you go on mute?
Okay. So good. So let me go back to my slide, and I can talk about what is a trainer, a mentor, and a coach, and the difference between these. So a trainer is like, a teacher, someone who teaches, and we have all been through school, and we've all been through, college. We've all had teachers in our lives, and they all share a common purpose, and the common purpose is to help and to make you learn and to help you grow and evolve as a human being. But there is a difference in the universe between a trainer, mentor, and coach. And all of us need to just put all our past conditioning of what is coaching behind us and look at what is coaching really afresh before we really engage a coach, or we try to bring a coaching intervention in our organization. So when you look at what does a coach do, and I go back always to one participant in a coaching program. I was coaching her, and at the end of the coaching, 6-7 sessions, we all give positive strokes feedback to each other. And she gave me one line feedback, and she said, "Thank you for not giving us the answers to our problems and questions, but helping us get to that point ourselves." And I thought that sums up in such a beautiful way what a coach really does. A coach doesn't answer your questions. A coach doesn't provide you any, solutions, but helps you get to that point yourself. So if I'm a teacher or a trainer, I will ask you direct questions. I'll ask you, okay, what's happening in your life? What are the performance issues you are facing? I will ask, and you will give me an answer. It's a direct question. I will provide you information. I will say, okay, this is the latest research, and this is what it shows, and this is the, what the textbook says. And once I've given you the information, depending on what the subject is, I will ask you questions that will, elicit answers. It's often highly structured, and it's based on past learning. It's somebody else's learning in some other context, some research that has been done by somebody, and they come up with a model and framework, and they're telling you this is what makes your life work for you. So that is what a trainer does. A mentor is somebody who's perhaps senior, sometimes older, sometimes not necessarily older, but someone who's from your same domain and same field as you are. And a mentor is somebody who has a lot of sectoral knowledge, has a lot of experience in, maybe he's been in your job before you, and he or she is someone who will answer all your questions. So you may want to ask questions, something related with your work, or something related with, the entire sector that you're working in. He will answer your question because he's got the knowledge and the experience. He will tell you where to find the answers. And he's very structured, but he's also based on past experience. A coach, if you ask direct question to a coach, the coach is not likely to answer. I mean, he or she may answer you, by giving you another question or inviting you to explore the answer for yourself. So the coach always asks you open-ended questions. The coach always listens. The coach enables you to discover for yourself what is in your context, what will work for you, what is inside you, and how you would love to grow and how your growth will happen. And if there is any false feelings or false beliefs, then the coach will tell you straight away, sorry, this may or may not work. And can be applied to any situation. And not just people down the line, but CEOs, CXOs, people are all seeking coaching today because coaching takes you to the next level. Coaching is also very future focused. It focuses on the future. So we define what is going to happen in the final, what's the goal I want to get to, and then I work backwards from that, and I try to carve a path for myself that will get me to that goal or that outcome. A couple of weeks ago, I was putting my thoughts together and I came up with this coaching tree that helps explain what is coaching. And this is a metaphor. The tree is just a metaphor for what is coaching. And you can see that there are roots. There are three sections. There are roots. The roots make you strong and give you a certain core resilience and core strength. There is a trunk that tells you slightly flexible, but where to bend and where not to bend. Those are things that will give you a lot more stability in your life. And then there are leaves. And the leaves are because if the roots are strong and the trunk is strong, then the leaves will also be strong. And then there's an environment which is out there. Is outside the world out there. So let me go a little deeper and share with you. The world outside is full of, you'll get targets from the organization you work with. There are expectations of certain kinds of behaviors from the world, whether you're at home or you're at work or even in a train that you're going to work or in a bus. So there's certain expected behaviors there. And then there are other people's ideas, and there's lots of ideas. People tell you, oh, I think you should do it like this, or I think you should do it like that, or I think you should do it the other way. And the world is full of giving you ideas and suggestions as to how you should do what. There's the need for other people to control you. So there is the control element because there is, particularly at home, there are authority figures, their parents, they want to control what you do and what you don't do. In work, there is superiors and seniors, they control what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. In wherever you go to the post office, there is some protocol there and there's a control element there. You're driving your car, you're being controlled by the rules and regulations that pertain to driving cars. So wherever you go, there's other people controlling outside you. There's competition, obviously, yes. There's peer pressure, there's advice. People will give you advice. There's instructions. Okay, you have to do this and then this and then this, and that's how you have to do this job. And sometimes bosses get very micromanaging and give you very detailed instructions, and you don't have any degree of autonomy or freedom as to what you think you ought to do. You have to just simply follow the instructions. So these are all in the world outside. And when I look at a superficial level, the leaves, this is where my health is visible, my well-being is visible. The greener the leaf, the better is the health of the tree. So my performance. So the higher the performance, the better it is, the more stronger person I am, the more confidence I feel, the more, so the performance is reflected in my performance. The kind of rewards I get in life, in all forms, whether it's monetary rewards or recognition or fame, fortune in whatever way. The competencies I develop, these are all my own competencies. It's a combination of the world outside and the world within. The skills, also the leadership style. Some leaders are very delegating in nature. That's because of certain issues they have here with power, trust, conflict. Some leaders are very controlling in nature because their relationship to power, trust, conflict is different. So there is also your leadership style that emerges. The trunk of the tree is about the exercise, that you do, your physical health, if you're suffering from chronic stress or any chronic ailments or disabilities in any form, your emotional intelligence, the kind of response you give on emotions. I'm not going to go into deeper into this, otherwise I'll get lost because I can do a full 4-day program only on emotional intelligence. Your social capital, your social networking, people whom you know, contacts, that you have. Now social media also, I mean, if you have 1 million followers on social media, you're considered to have arrived. The relationships, particularly marriage, superiors, bosses, friends, and other relationships, and your spiritual practice. By spiritual practice, if you're religious, well and good, but it's not necessarily only about religion. It's also about, the attitude of gratitude, the kind of dedication and engagement you bring to work, your introspection, your reflection, your ability to look within and make corrective action for your own self, your ability to grow. That's all spiritual practice. Meditation, if you do meditation, yoga, that's partly spiritual. And then we get to the roots. So how coaching is different. In training, we focus only on these. And sometimes in coaching too, we focus on these. And in coaching, we try and work with you at the roots level. We help you to understand what are your values and beliefs. We help you to understand your relationship to power, trust, conflict, teamwork. Teamwork is very important. What is your purpose in life? We help discover that. What is the self-concept you're working with? Self-awareness, identity, who am I? What's my core identity? And what is my belief and confidence in myself? So this is a little bit about what coaching is. And we have to throw away all our old definitions of coaching and understand that coaching is something that enables you to get in touch with your roots and then work with that. So Jaya, I hope that addresses your question.
Thanks, Aneeta, for that. I have a few questions, and I would also invite, the group to ask their questions, whatever they have. So one of the questions that I have is, Aneeta, when you say, okay, we can work on performance, we can work on the trunk of the tree, but then the roots are the most important, right? So in a 6 to 8 sessions that normally, coaches do, so is that possible? And why am I asking you this question is because I tend to hear people say, this person had gone for coaching, 8 sessions for ho gaye, and for a few months things were working well, and then the person has reverted to old behaviors. So that's where my question comes from.
Well, some of that may happen apparently outside. It may be apparent that way. But I have faith that nobody goes away from a coaching session without having changed. Now, if you look at our brains, and we bring a lot of neurosciences also to our coaching, brain-based coaching also. We look at our brains, it consists of a lot of neurons and a lot of cells in the brain. And whenever we learn something, a new connection is made between two brain cells.
Okay.
And connection is made. Now that connection never gets lost. It stays permanent.
Okay.
So something has changed even physically. Whenever I learn something, I come to some insights. That doesn't change. Now the more I pass the electrical current through that connection, the more I pass the current, the more I reinforce that in all ways, through my own affirmations, through the world outside, and through the processes in the organization that support, the response that I give to cynical statements sometimes, my own belief in myself. The more I pass the current on that part of the brain, the stronger the change gets. But it doesn't go away. Sometimes 6 months later, 1 year later, 5 years later, it will strike you, oh my God, this is something that I remember happened in a coaching session.
Oh.
It's called neuroplasticity, this concept.
Yes.
There is a neuroplasticity that brain reshapes itself with every insight, with every learning, with every experience. And I do believe it never leaves you. It may not be apparent, or you may not be conscious or aware of it, but it's a change for life. and it stays with you. You cannot unwind something that's already winded. You cannot unwind something that's already seen. You cannot unlearn anything that's already learned. It stays. So,
Okay.
so yes, so the faith is there. There is a faith that when we coach, we coach for forever,
Hmm.
and that doesn't go away. That faith has to. That faith.
Yeah. Yeah, because what you say resonates with me. I remember that one conversation when I was facing a challenge in my life, and I had just called you, Aneeta, I just need some support here. And I went to your office. It was a 1 hour conversation that we had, I think. And after that, I got my answer because I knew the answer was there, but you did the job of getting that answer out from me. And, I found my solution. I don't remember the whole conversation of what we had because it's been quite a few years. But then I remember coming out saying that, okay, fine, now I know what I want to do, kinds.
The change is permanent. Is
Yeah,
permanent. Apparently, it may, unless you've just had very superficial level engagement with the coaching and you've just done something mechanically and without any dedication, and then we make sure that that doesn't happen. The mechanic, we make sure that you're engaging from the core.
mm,
The change is permanent.
yeah. And also the other thing that I think is I was ready to be coached at that point because I needed support. So the intention was set for me. So nobody forced me to do it. So I just went ahead and because I was seeking a solution, I got it. So the second question is everybody coachable, Aneeta? What's your experience?
Well, it's like with any learning, it's about taking a horse to the water, but the horse has to drink. And some horses are more thirsty, and some horses are not so thirsty. So what everyone takes away is something different from every. Some people will take away huge transformations, and some people will say, okay, find something that happened. And, uh, I think, like I said, the faith is that some people may go away with, like, when you say you pinch somebody, and
Hmm.
a lot of people, oh my God, I got pinched and all, and you respond. And some people say, okay, I got a faith for what happened. So everybody's response, the intensity of response is different. Some
Hmm.
people, all the intensity of the learning is not present. Some people will not have much to win. So I think everybody is possible
Okay.
and everybody would take away something, but the connection may not be made. They may not value that learning, or they may not realize that they've learned something, or they may
Okay.
not, they may not value it. So I had
Hmm.
somebody here, and then I thought it was a very brilliant insight, something that could change his life completely. So
Hmm.
that it was a very powerful insight. But
Hmm.
then over somebody who had referred him his training, he said, "Yeah, just a second, So he did not value that insight. Whereas I could see the power of that insight and his potential to change. Right.
Okay.
Maybe it won't happen today, but someday it will. So it's not equally coachable. But
Okay.
yeah, not
Okay.
it.
Yeah. I'll ask you one more question. Um, you know, uh, I'll ask you another question before I leave it to the group if they have one or two questions. So the other question that I have is, there could be instances wherein the coachee has learned something new and would want to implement, and maybe the environment may not be conducive for him or her to do something different with the new learning. So how does coaching address that, Aneeta?
So if you look at the roots of the tree,
Mm-hmm.
and if there has been some seed that you have sown,
Okay.
some seed that you have sown. Sometimes the seeds that you sow they get thrown out of the window and they don't find the light of day. But there is, very famous social worker since we are in social work area. I don't know if you heard of Albert Schweitzer. He worked a lot with the people who had leprosy and eventually he contracted leprosy and died of it. In the previous century. But his statement was, it's very beautiful. Uh, no ray of sunshine is ever lost,
Okay.
But the green that it awakens needs time to grow.
Ah.
And it is not granted to the farmer to see the harvest.
Hmm.
Because when the farmer is sowing the seed, he's sowing it in faith. So I always take this example, and I talk about say Gandhiji. When he started the Quit India movement, that day, that moment, that point in time, he did not know he will succeed.
Okay.
But he just kept going at it, and he succeeded. So I hope this answers your question. That
Hmm.
yeah, in the end, life is not just one coaching session or one eight coaching sessions that I had. When I look back, life is a lot about so many places where I learned and so many,
Yes. Sure.
lessons where I
Yeah. I really love that. The quote, no ray of sunshine goes to waste. Beautiful. So, anyone else wants to ask a question of Aneeta? Uh, I have several, but I would like the group also uh, to see if they have any questions, and we can, before we move further.
Yeah, Jaya, can I go
Yes,
first? I
yes,
raised
yes,
my hand.
Arvinder. Yes.
Okay. Hi, Anita. I'm Harvinder. I'm working in maternal and newborn health. I want to put on my camera. Okay. Wait, can I? Hi. So,
Yes.
yeah, I am very intrigued by the concept of coaching. I didn't know what it is all about because I think when I was your age, this was not practiced. And we saw our parents learn from them, teachers learn from them, friends, family, relatives, whatever. But now it has come a lot into vogue and practice, and it has become almost essential for day to day working. So I want to know that how do you know that you need coaching? Because Jaya asked me once, and I said, "Well, I think I need coaching," and she arranged for me a very nice coach. I went for one session, and I thought, "Well, I am okay with one session. That's it." My curiosity was maybe quelled or something. So I'm not sure at what point you feel that you need to consult someone or will something help. So how do you decide that?
you know, you're in maternal health, for example. I'm quite sure that the kind of conversations you have with pregnant women and mothers to be, and also post-delivery, whatever your interfaces are, I'm quite sure you're doing a lot of coaching without giving it that label. I'm quite sure there is much human exchange that's happening at that interface. I wish today that there were times in my life when I had crises, I had the sensibility to seek a coach or to seek a space where I could have that conversation that would help me just purely understand myself and what is lying within. Every time I talked to anybody, I only got advice. And that advice made me feel very small, and that advice made me feel very, oh, that doesn't work for me, it doesn't sit well. And a rebel in me actually would sometimes come out if people start advising very strongly and pushing their ideas into you. So I would start rebelling, against them as well. So I used to feel that, is there a space where I can simply discuss and talk about what my life is, and someone can hold that space in grace and in non-judgmental way and help me see for myself what that path is. So I never found a coach for myself till last few years now that I've been in coaching. Now I have a lot of people where I'm the coachee and I have coaching conversations. So I do believe that it cannot be mandatory, but yes, it serves a purpose. We have our own, inner spaces. We meditate, we pray, we reflect, we introspect, we do yoga, we do all of that. Those are all spaces in which we find nourishment and replenishment. But the space of coaching is a different kind of nourishment. And to be a balanced human being, all kinds of nourishment is welcome. So I do believe that coaching can do what maybe other spaces cannot do, but it has to come from within, and it has to come from inside you. It's finally, they are your battles, they are your demons. You have to conquer. No one else can conquer those demons for you.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Jaya, you're muted.
Yeah. Anyone else has a question for Aneeta? Any
I have a,
clarification that you
I
see?
have a question.
Yes,
Can I ask? So I
yeah,
think
yeah,
it's a
please.
process. I think it's a process when you start coaching and you are in the it's initial phase of coaching. I think it's very important how if I'm going for a coaching, how I balance that, because there's a huge shift, looking at things and new perspectives, finding answers for your own questions. So I think that's the stage where is the most delicate and where you need really support in terms of actually uh, own support in terms of practicing it and going into it. So I would suggest what you would advise or how you would suggest that person who's going for coaching for first time, takes this learning experience to next level. Because I also have some PCs in my team who report to me have gone for coaching, and there was a huge dilemma. Is it right? Is it how I need to do with it? So how initial phase of coaching can be dealt very easily in that transition, because all of us are very used to training and other things. So when coaching becomes new concept, how one undergoes that change.
So in a training, you're a part of a classroom, literally, you've got many participants and you can get lost in the crowd. And in a training, not just lost in the crowd, there is a group and there is a group interface. And when there is a group interface, then I get caught in a group position, like different parts of the pecking order I am in, the group dynamics, there's certain norms getting set up, certain people take up more space and certain people take up less space, certain people, tend to be higher in the aggression and such thing. So when I'm in a group space, there's always boundaries. It's never free, it's never 100% free. So in a training, it is a very different, because in a training, you're getting information, knowledge, learning, and that should be the focus. But in a coaching, it's a completely unbounded space. It's not bounded by anybody. And a professionally certified coach will not even pass judgment on what you have to say. So I would say if a person has to go for coaching, or particularly, people who are reporting into you, like you mentioned, Ananga, the only criteria is go with an open mind. Go with an open mind and suspend your inner critic and suspend your, your inner judge and your inner cynic. There's a cynic inside all of us, which we all know. We feel that, this doesn't happen in real life, and we don't believe this. Just suspend that cynic, suspend that critic, and then go with an open mind. That's all I will say. And if you're an open, you just leave the door open. It's amazing the kind of learning that comes your way. And it's not that some gyan that the coach is giving. It's your own navigating of your own life. It's your own exploring of who you are, and new insights come in that. So just tell everyone, go with an open mind and keep checking. Is your mind open or are you closed? And even after the session, don't close your mind and say, oh, that was lousy and let me throw it out of the window. It didn't work for me. That's the only do's and don'ts for coaches, is just keep an open mind.
Thanks, Aneeta.
Anyone else wants to ask a question of Aneeta?
Jaya, I have
Yes,
one question.
yes.
Yeah, so as Anita mentioned that coaching and mentoring, there is a difference, right? So I would like to know when you are doing the role of mentor, what exactly we need to look into, and what is exactly how we should go about when you are mentoring a person.
When you're mentoring a person, you're sharing your experience with them. Like right now, I think what I'm doing is I'm sharing my experience with you. I'm sharing all my experience with you. So right now, it's not a coaching session. Right now, it's more a mentoring session. You share your experience. And in the experience, you share your knowledge, you share your contact, you share your networking, you share your wisdoms, things that work for you, and in my sharing of my experience, I also land up advising you and I say, okay, please go with an open mind. Otherwise I wouldn't say that as a coach. I would, if a person comes to my coaching session with a closed mind, I would say, okay, how would you like to look at this in a way that allows you to explore for yourself? I would not tell the person that you have a coach closed mind. So in a mentoring, you can invite.
Thank you.
Jaya, you are still muted.
Yeah, okay. So I think if Pauru, do you
Yeah,
have a question for Aneeta, you think?
yeah. I
And then,
want to say a comment, Jaya. Can I?
okay,
So we have been talking about the attitude of the coachee and the willingness to go for the coaching. But I also see there's a lot of lot depends on the skill of the person who's coaching also. Because I remember my personal experience where I used to be superficial. I would not go in depth, and I had that very positive experience with Anita where she didn't accept that, and she was able to push me to challenge myself, and say that I have to communicate and I have to take the advantage of the coaching. So a lot depends on the skill of the coachee or the person who's coaching also.
True.
So I just wanted to bring that out. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. But I do believe that, if you're going to the ICF and you're hiring a PCC level coach, you will get a certain minimum degree of skill. If you're hiring a non-certified coach, we don't know. We are not assured of that. Maybe someone's a great coach, maybe someone's not. There's no assurance of that. And also, anyone can do a coach training program and then go and do 100 hours of coaching and get an ACC accreditation, which is relatively easier. And that is not a certain level of skill, that's a level of skill, yeah, but it's not the kind of skill that will make a great coach. But if you go for a PCC level kind of a person who's cleared all that, we have been evaluated, assessed millions of times, and you've reflected, you've written your journals, you have done it, then you will probably get the kind of skills of a coach that you're looking for. There are skills, let's not deny that. These are learnable skills to become a coach, and some are more skilled and some are less skilled. So you're right about that, Paul. So,
Anita, okay, yeah. Is somebody else asking, or Anita, are you saying something?
no, I was looking at, some more direction from you, Jaya.
Yeah. So I was just thinking now, I think I would like to move from what is coaching to something like, in a performance review coaching, in a performance review conversation. I heard you say that past achievements, let's not review the past achievements, something like that. So the question to you, Anita, is in a performance review conversation, the past achievements are reviewed, right? So why did you say that can we move beyond that? So I would like to understand that.
So yeah, so this is actually the second segment of our
Yes.
talk as we had planned it also. I would like to take a moment here and talk about coaching at leadership level.
Okay.
People in top management often think coaching is not for us, whereas I do believe there is a next level for everybody.
Mhm.
For the Prime Minister of the country, and even for a person like Joe Biden or Donald Trump, there's a next level of evolution and growth for everybody. So there's no one who is above coaching or above learning. And you say I'm above coaching means you're above learning.
Right.
That doesn't somehow make sense as a human being for everybody. But one of my favorite topics is that I've talked about, and that's our second segment here, is about how people in organization, senior leadership level, particularly those who are present here, and they all have teams reporting to them, how they can carry on, their dialogues with their subordinates, with people who are reporting to them. Now, I think we have all witnessed the Donald Trump Joe Biden fight, and it's very clear. One thing is very clear, is that there is a kind of leadership style that does not work anymore. It does not work. And if it's working, it'll work only for a limited period of time and bring you only limited results. And this is the leadership style that is top down. And this is the leadership that, micromanages and controls and drives and pushes and only looks at the numbers and the targets. And that kind of leadership style is on its way out. It's very clear. The reason is if you go to many large organizations, you will find that they are doing away with the performance appraisal system. We don't have a performance appraisal system anymore. So many, Accenture, Microsoft, big names, and now many other firms also have followed through, private firms as well. We don't have a performance appraisal. Now, if you don't have performance appraisal, then how do you, manage the work of the organization? Everybody's got digital processes in place. So you're given your KPIs, you have your KPIs, you have agreed to, you have signed up for the KPIs, and those are defined for the year. And then you keep inputting the data, and these are all measurable. You keep inputting the data like a balanced scorecard or whatever. You input the data on the machine, and the machine is there, the system tracks your performance, and then tells you you're meeting your targets or you're lagging behind in your targets. And then if you want to seek help, how do I achieve my targets? You are welcome to have those conversations anywhere. And there is also something we call performance coaching that we do in helping you meet your goals and targets. That's not transformational coaching. We call it performance coaching or maybe transactional coaching. So that happens. And the system is taking care of it. And many of these organizations, they have trained their internal managers to have developmental conversations with their team members who are reporting to them. So you have almost like a coaching conversation with your subordinates. Now, when you have a developmental conversation, it's not about whether you met your targets or not. It's not about how well you performed in the past. It's not about past. It's about the future. It's about what is it that you can do for the next 1 year to grow and learn and to maybe even improve your performance. So it's only about the next 1 year. It's only about the future. The past is done with, over, it's measured, and the system has taken care of that. And this conversation that I have, it's no longer a performance review discussion or a feedback session. It's now becoming a coaching conversation. It's becoming a developmental conversation. And that's the kind of leadership style that works today. That's the kind of leadership style that works. So last week I had done one webinar a couple of weeks ago actually. And I spoke about something that we call, everyone in organizations had something called SMART goals. I've got a card here. Can you see SMART goals? Can you see SMART? Everyone knows SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound, relevant. There are 2 R's in the SMART. They have to be relevant. So those goals are so specific, and every quarter you have a review and you're assessed whether you met those goals or not. And at the end of the year, you're assessed whether you met those goals or not. And your performance rewards and everything is based on that. Now we've delinked the SMART goals, and the system is taking care of the SMART goals and your key performance indicators, and those are taken care of by the system. But here I am your boss. I'm like your buddy, your friend. I'm like your coach. And let's talk about the next 1 year. And what are we going to do for the next 1 year? And I have a concept called SAF goals. Can you see the SAF? Can you see it? Yeah.
Yes.
SAF goals. I can see it. It's coming reversed on my screen. But the SAF goals are SAF means clear. In Hindi, SAF means sab kuch saaf hai. I can see clearly. There's no fog, no mist, no ambiguity. I can see very clearly. So what we do is we get the person to visualize a goal for themselves. It could be even something like I want to, raise $100 million worth of funds for Sneha Foundation. Something as simple as that. Okay, now let's make it SAF. When we say SAF, we say S stands for what is the seam. what is the scene? From 1 year from now, if you have made $100 million of funds for Sneha Foundation, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Who are the people? What are they saying? What is it you're feeling like? What is it that, the conversation about? And, what is happening in this? What happened before that? And who are some of the people today who will be with you, and who are some of the people today who won't be with you in that scene? So we get a person to visualize the scene. And we make it as clear as possible. We say, okay, what are the colors? What are you wearing? What does it look like? Are you in a office block in a corner office, or are you sitting in the Himalayas meditating, or are you, out on a trip vacationing somewhere in Europe, or are you on an expedition trekking in the mountains? So what is the visual, what does it look like 1 year from now, or whatever is the time period? And then A is for actors. Who are the people? Who are the people in that scenario? Who are there? What are they saying? What is your relationship to them? This reminds me of some time ago, I had coached a person, and she was saying, I wish I had more teamwork in my team. So I got her to close her eyes and visualize what is the teamwork. And she visualized herself. She says, okay, I'm sitting in my chair, I'm sitting in my office, and I'm sitting, and my team members are all sitting in their chairs, and each one is doing what they are doing, and they're all meeting their goals and targets. And, we've got everybody is sitting quietly in their own places. And, so I said, do you mean teamwork is lack of conflict? Is that what teamwork means to you? Then she said, yeah, to me, teamwork means lack of conflict. Now, I think everyone has a definition of teamwork. Teamwork is actually synergy. Teamwork is, if you have a different opinion, you bring it on the table, we thrash it out, we agree. After that, teamwork is not that you are just sitting doing your work and everyone's sitting doing their own work. I'm doing my own work. That's five people working. That's not a team. But yeah, so we make the scenario very clear. So there are actors in that scenario. What are they doing? What is happening over here? What are the actions you are taking? The second A. What are the actions you're taking? And how did you get to this point? What are your action steps to get to this point? We work backwards. And lastly, what are the feelings? The F. F stands for feelings. What are the feelings you are going through? And once we have created the future scenario concretely in the mind of a person, then that acts like a pull and pulls the person towards that goal. That vision acts like an anchor, and then you keep moving towards that goal. And that's how coaches drive performance. Coaching bosses or coaching superiors or coaching conversation can drive the performance. It's not necessarily about every day you have to report to me what did you do the last day, and every week we will get into the number crunching and see. Those are all ways that the system is now taking care of. Digital systems are taking care of. You get your MIS, and in the MIS it comes up, and if people are on track, fine. If not, then only you take some action to correct it. But mostly, so if you leave people to visualize their goals and to create their own visions for themselves, you will find, and I have done this for years, and I'm always amazed when I leave people in organizations to set goals for themselves. They will always set goals that anyway you would have liked them to achieve. I remember once, in one organization, we were doing performance appraisal. We were designing and implementing a performance appraisal system. This was before computers came in. And this was, I think, late 1990s or something. There was no digitization then. And the CEO of the firm was very much concerned that, there's a lot of profit crunch, and I would love to have the cost consciousness as a major element for the thrust area for this year in the organization. So we just told everybody cost consciousness, right? One goal for yourself on how you can save cost for this company. Okay. And everybody wrote goals for themselves, one goal on how they are going to save money for the company. And when at the end of the day you added up all those goals, it came to a whopping 4 crores of rupees, which was for that organization, that size of operations, very big amount. And the CEO was zapped. He says, if even half of this is achieved, it is much more that I would have received by the way of performance of my entire organization. Had I set a goal and I pushed it, I'm sure I wouldn't even have got 1 crore of savings. So it reinforces my faith every time when we leave people to set their own goals and visualize for themselves. Just give them broad areas. They visualize for themselves much bigger, much more grandiose, much more meaningful, SAF goals for themselves. And when we look into the future, and then at the end of the year, you've probably got there part of the way, but it's better than having not got there at all.
Thank you for that, Aneeta, because this requires a certain skill and a certain way of being, to hold this developmental conversation. Yeah, because first,
You're rich and you don't acquire that skill. Then like Donald Trump has been thrown out because he refused to bend, or refused to adapt, or refused to learn, or refused to adjust. I mean, nothing wrong with his leadership other than the fact he was so rigid. And that's what was his death knell, literally. I'm not sorry, not the death knell. I think that was what caused his failure. As of today, we see. And because today that old leadership style is out. Today, if you are like Donald Trump, you only breed rebellion. How much the people rebelled against him, how strongly they rebelled against him. If you are so strong a leader, so top down, people just rebel against you. Today, nobody wants to take, they all want to make for themselves their own lives.
Thank you for that, Aneeta. And I would say, I would let the group ask the questions because this has been very powerful for me. And, I'm just kind of taking it all in. So if anybody else has questions, so please go ahead. So, any questions, wanting to seek clarification, anything else? Yeah.
I don't have a question, but I have to say, Aneeta, it's a very, very interesting concept, I think, the SAF goals. I just had one question, assuming that you do something like this for somebody and you're creating maybe a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goal, right? Whatever the period is. How do you sustain that energy? Because, we can all sit one day and we can all imagine and dream and decide who the actors are and, what we feel, if we achieve the goal. But how does one sustain that energy through the period of time?
Yeah, so this is where I talk about, affirmative practices. So in companies like Microsoft, Accenture, and all these firms where where bosses are only doing development coaching conversations with their subordinates, they have these conversations on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. And these conversations are ongoing. They are not, so it becomes a part of your style of managing. It's not like 1 year we leave you alone and then at the end of 1 year we suddenly wake up and say, hey, let's have that coaching conversation again. So a boss's role is to manage his subordinates, and that's what the bosses do. And that's what it should be ideally, 75 to 80% of what they do is managing their subordinates. If they do not invest the time in managing the subordinates, then they're not managers, they're just doers. And if you have to move up you have to move to your next level, you have no choice but to invest that time and energy in managing people. And not think of it as a waste of time because I did not do anything. What you did was intangible, but what you did was something that will really spur the organization's growth to the next level. So it's about valuing the time that you spend on that developmental conversation, and it's an integral part of what you do as a leader. It's not something you do in addition to your work.
Understood. Yeah.
This is your work. This is your work, and that's all. That's your work, is to motivate and keep other people engaged.
So that's very interesting, because I think one of the one of the challenges for most of us is we get so absorbed in the doing, that sometimes we forget that, what you say. I think the most important part of our work is really to manage our people. Once you manage, so I think that's a very interesting thing. Thanks for sharing that, Aneeta.
Jaya, can I ask?
Yes, please,
Yeah.
Nine, go ahead.
So, Aneeta, you spoke about the new system where there are no appraisals and there are more coaching conversations. But in a setup like ours, I think if there are no appraisals, people will do much better because there will be no fear of, whether I will get a 3 or 4. People will do really well and have their creativity shown. But the flip side is what how will we in a corporate it's easy because everything is related to numbers. But in NGOs where we work, a lot of our work is very very qualitative. So how will we even? I'm not able to understand how would we capture this kind of work if appraisals are not done or a new system is created where you write your goals achieved in the system. But how will we kind of even evaluate or move towards that?
Yeah. So yeah, there are ways of measuring, and I also believe that without measuring, nothing happens. I mean, that which can be measured can be managed and controlled. Otherwise, it will be anarchy. Everyone will be doing what they want. So there are ways of measuring. You have employee engagement measures. You have employee engagement with their goals kind of measures. You have great places to work kind of measures. There are qualitative measures available. You have journeys of excellence kind of measures, the Malcolm Baldrige, business excellence measures. You have those are qualitative measures. That and they're specific, numerical but qualitative measures. So you take, for example, even I have developed an HR excellence model, which is a qualitative but numerical measure of qualitative, degrees of excellence in HR and organizations. So there is Malcolm Baldrige excellence measures, the quality measures. So those are the measures which are numerical and yet measure the qualitative. So there are ways of measuring. It requires to complete over. And I love the fact that the kind of work that Sneha does is so qualitative, and measuring the impact of what you do is so important. So that if you don't measure it, then you don't know and you can't improve or you can't better it in any way. Measuring is important, but those measures have to be more qualitative. So you'll have surveys, feedbacks, and get those qualitative things and measure those qualitative things and not just hard numbers, Just so even the word sneha itself means compassion, love, empathy, welfare of people. So I do believe that the work that you do is amazingly qualitative, and there's no need to drive only quantifiable things there.
Thank you, Aneeta.
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm hearing is, Aneeta, it can be transactional, but moving on to transformative. So you're not saying transactional is not good or something, but you're saying ki transactional is also okay, but can we move also towards transformative conversations? Is that
And organizations, we also get called on to do what is called performance coaching, which means that here are your goals for the year. Okay, now we enable people to discover for themselves how they can achieve those goals. Okay, and that's performance coaching. It's transactional in a way because it results in some action steps and and it results in some concrete things that I will do so that I can get to that goal. So in some sense, it is transactional. It doesn't work with who am I and who am not and all. But then we invariably find some amount of the human being also creeps in, and we also talk about deeper things, like what barriers you're facing, in achieving your goal. And when we talk of the minute there's a barrier in achieving my goal, we go deeper and we find that there are issues, some false notions the person is holding, some sense of, some with beliefs that the person is living with, that if you change that belief and you work with looking at things in a different way, those barriers will go away. So there is a place for what you're calling transactional coaching, but the word transaction has got a little negative connotation. So we call it performance coaching. We don't say developmental coaching. So we don't say developmental coaching, we say performance coaching. And there is a space for performance coaching. So that, I as a boss have given you targets and goals, and you've got these goals and targets to achieve. But I as a boss cannot, you can't have that conversation with me as a boss. You need an external coach to come and help you figure out now for yourself how you're going to get there and what it means to you. So that external coach comes in and you have that space to work with your organizational role and goals to get to the point. So yeah, it's transactional in a way, but it achieves a lot for the organization. It aligns people's efforts to the goals and the vision and the passion and the purpose of the organization. So it achieves a lot, makes people more result oriented. It gets people to examine waste in their own working and how do they manage their time better and their productivity issues and their delegation issues. So those are all transactional, but yes, it achieves a lot.
Thank you for that, Aneeta, for that clarification. So we are at 10, it's 2 minutes past 10. So, how would you like this? Would you how would you like to close this, Aneeta? Is there something that we could do? Is there?
As Jaya, can I just come in for a second?
Yes,
Paulo
yes.
and I have to leave for another
Yeah,
meeting,
yeah.
but I really want to thank Aneeta. Aneeta, I think you have really opened a new door for us to think about how we can look at appraisals differently, probably far more empowering than what we're doing now. And given the fact that we do have a lot of data available, we're now looking at working on dashboards. I think over a period of time, we will actually be able to spend less time on the numbers and the targets, and actually spend more time on being able to build capacity of our teams. It's really interesting, I think, and even this exercise of imagining what it will be, what you want to achieve, I think is also very powerful, and how you feel when you achieve it, because you kind of build that image in your mind. And I think that really becomes the energy that takes you forward. I also like this concept of the affirmative conversations that you talked about. Obviously, I don't know enough of it, and maybe Jaya, we can
Yeah.
deep dive into how we can even look at affirmative conversations. But I think overall, given the kind of work we do, and the fact that we work with so much emotion, with people with a lot of emotion as well, it's a very interesting balance probably for us to bring in the whole appraisal process. So thank you so much, Aneeta. I really appreciate you taking the time to enlighten us, to maybe connect a few neurons in our brains, which have happened in the past 1 hour. And I'm sorry that I have to leave now. I would have loved to continue till the end. I know you're ending, but I think Dr. Fernandez is waiting on another call for me, so I need to get off. But thanks so much. Thank you.
For being here.
Thanks. Thank you.
How to end this is your question, Jaya.
Yes. So,
I would simply say that you're within Sneha, the more you have conversations about coaching conversations, the more it will get reinforced in the organization culture.
okay.
And sooner or later, this will see the light of day in the form of concrete steps that you may take in HR, to make a shift to the new ways of doing things. So I do believe that continue to have more such conversations, continue to invest in coaching, continue to explore, and that continues like in neuroplasticity. If you think of Sneha as a human being, Sneha also has a brain, and that neuroplasticity will somehow that will change the language of the company, and it will change the language of the organization and its people, and that language will bring. So watch your thoughts, because your thoughts become actions, and watch your actions because they become your destiny, and there are many more stages in between. So if you keep thinking and talking about it, eventually you will find it will result in something concrete.
Yes. And the beautiful part of it is all of us can do it. It is not something that cannot be learned and cannot be done. Yeah. So
Just
that's
watch that inner critic and just watch the inner cynic.
Yeah.
These two
Yes.
things, cynic and cynic, just watch those and get everybody to watch that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, everyone. Any thoughts? You want to put it in the chat? You want to say something before we close it formally? So the floor
Sure.
is open.
I think everyone's had their say.
Yeah. Unnati? Yeah, Unnati has unmuted. Yes.
Uh, yes, so
Can I say something
I
here?
really liked when Anita said about investing time. So this is what I had learned from one of my bosses in my earlier jobs. So when we used to discuss about few things, and I'm like, thank you for your time. Like then he's like, Unnati, this is an investment. I'm making an investment in the organization. So I try to do that. But yes, I would like to learn more about it. Thank you, Anita. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an investment.
Yeah.
Shilpa, you also wanted to say something, no? You had unmuted. You want to say something? So I think Shilpa is not able to unmute herself, but she
Yes,
wanted to.
Jaya.
Yeah, there she is.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
Shilpa.
Sorry, my connection was bad. I mean, there was some connectivity issue. Just one thing which I felt was anybody who joins the work with my whatever work experience, when you join and you expect that, okay, your supervisor is going to tell you what to do and what not to do and all that, it takes little time to, think yourself, understand and go through that process. So even though it is time consuming, is it really helps you learn a lot. So I completely agree to what Anita said, and I definitely feel that that would really help in whatever work that you are doing. So thank you so much, Anita, for this
Thank you,
session.
Shilpa.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Shilpa. So we'll take leave.
Okay, Anita. So I think if there are no more questions, a very big thank you to you for making this time, Anita. As always, there's so much to learn from you. I think for myself as an individual, as a professional, and for the organization as well. So thank you for bringing that, your learning, your experience, your expertise into our system once again. And have a great day, Aneeta, and look forward to meeting you, many more times. Yes, and
Thank you.
all the best for your health coaching also. So more
Much,
learning from you.
much gratitude to you for this
And
opportunity to talk about some of the things that I love and I believe in. Thank you.
yeah, Nairi, yeah,
Thank you.
Nairi,
All I want to say is thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Bye
Thank
now.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Have a
You. Thank
great
you,
day.
Anita.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thank
Bye.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Have a great weekend, all of you.
Yeah, bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Anita, would you like to stay for a minute on after everyone is gone? So
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, hi. So how was it for you? I had a wonderful time, Anita. There is so much to do, and I hope, we can take what we learned today forward. At least, the seed has been sown,
Yeah.
for people to think of it in a different manner.
Vanessa's statement is very powerful.
Which one?
Vanessa,
Vanessa. Yeah.
very
Yes.
powerful. She said that maybe you can stop recording now, but her thing
Yeah, yeah.
very
Okay. Just a moment. I'll just close this recording. Yeah. I forget to stop recording and start